In a season of already many wins and major victories, the Seattle Seahawks might have just put together their most impressive performance of the year so far with an absolute drubbing of the Washington Commanders, 38-14 in a game that was never in any doubt. A game that again saw so many different parts of your team working together well, all three phases holding up their end, doing more than their job. A defense putting this Washington Commanders into a box and never letting them out. An offense that was able at time to feel like it could score at will with 5 straight scoring drives to kick out this game, including 4 straight touchdown drives to kick out this game. Then you've got Sam Darnold continuing to play at not merely a better than average, not merely a good level, not merely even just a great level, but a masterful performative level at that. He started out this game 17 of 17 and doing whatever he wanted to do. Throw a 60-yarder down there, 26-yarder here, 25-yarder here. How about another 25-yarder there? This is not him stacking up the yardage on the back of merely throwing a little bubble screen and some guy runs it for 50 yards up the football field. This is him making high-level NFL throws, every NFL level throw in the book, tossing with anticipation, putting the ball with real pinpoint level of control. And this guy has just been so insanely good for your Seattle Seahawks. 4 touchdowns today, but he was really controlling the action. The Commanders, once again, like so many teams have gone at the Seattle Seahawks offense this year, brought up those bodies up around the box. I don't think they were as hardy in trying to necessarily get as blitz-centric as some of those other teams have throughout this year, but they were definitely still bringing those extra defenders down. They were committing to the single high safety over the top. They were sort of daring Seattle to throw the ball, and Sam Darnold absolutely punished them for doing so. A lot of what this also led to, a lot in this game, was some singled opportunities for Jackson Smith and Jigba. And surprise, surprise, he got his 4th straight game with 100 yards. He's kicked up right up on the edge of getting past now 1,000 yards this early in the season, not even just barely almost halfway. And yeah, he looks like at times he is still unstoppable. Finally, you saw a little bit of the Commanders out there willing to drift a little bit of the double teams his way, something that we've seen the opposition a little bit hesitant to do throughout the course of this year. But the second they did that, Sam knew right where he could go. You've got Torrey Horton going out there getting another touchdown catch, actually 2 touchdown catches in this game, where he breaks free open partially on one play because Jackson Smith is starting to pull some of those double teams his direction. And this is what we were kind of anticipating even in the last week, that eventually you would start to be able to disperse the ball a little bit more to other parts of this offense when the concentration truly did and would come Jackson Smith's way. But even with that said, Jackson still posted up 130 yards receiving. He is still on his insane record-breaking type pace. He, like Sam Darnold, have been so consistent in every game and what they're bringing, and that they can take the top off the defense. They can be consistent chain movers and how they're working together. These guys' connection is something else, just especially considering that they're so short together in their time and what they've done. The offense couldn't run the ball as much again this game. They found some consistency early on. It went away a little bit later on in the game when Washington knew that they were going to want to run the ball 24/7, and so they really then congested things up and stopped the run, knowing they weren't going to pass. There were some runs in there to be found. There's still some of those dead runs that are there. There's still the lack of consistency that's there. I would still offer that a lot of that's on the back of the fact that the Commanders were really, really dedicating themselves to dealing with your condensed splits, that's what you're wanting to run offensively. You bring the receivers in tight. They're bringing those extra bodies down to deal with that. And that just means you have to really as much throw the ball, and not only throw the ball, but attack deep. And this is why you're going to get a Sam Darnold averaging almost 14 yards an attempt in this game, is because that's the open door that the Washington Commander defense is giving you. That's the same open door that all of these defenses throughout this year, for the most part, have given you. And Seattle, instead of trying to run uphill with the ground game, and that's going to be a lot of the narrative coming out of this game from some Hawk fans, and we just can't run. We can't run. Why can't we can't run? Because you're not trying to run uphill. You're going to go downhill. And if teams are going to so thoroughly be in one lane of how they're going to try to stop you, and it's not even that they're trying to necessarily stop the run, it's just that they're dealing with the condensed splits that the Seattle Seahawks are running at a large margin. They're dealing with the 12 and the 13 personnel. Seattle's running at a large margin with all of these extra bodies down around the line of scrimmage. It's just this general nature that these defenses are taking, and the Seahawks are absolutely able to exploit it in a variety of different ways, but really mainly on the back of the passing attack. The other guys are pretty consistent. Torrey Holden got a couple touchdown catches. Your tight ends were really good in this game. Elijah Arroyo, another big play down the field on a beautifully thrown ball on a play where Jackson Smith gets probably one of the cleanest stop-and-go routes you'll ever see. I mean, he beefs up Amos so hard that Amos literally comes to a stop on the play, and then he has to walk off the field and go back to the locker room and, I don't know, crying his tears or whatever because he got embarrassed on national TV on that play. But Arroyo and Sam Darnold picking him, Arroyo, to the other side of the field in a little bit tighter coverage. Sam's got to make almost a pinpoint perfect throw to get it on in there, and he does so, puts in the right spot. Arroyo makes a good catch. But the Seattle Seahawks offense was absolutely an engine on fire and roaring. Every piston hitting precisely. Yeah, maybe like a little bit of the rushing attack to be a little bit better. But I mean, even on this opening drive that they have, where from the first start, they're just rolling right up the field. I think they've got 3 penalties on that opening drive, and yet it doesn't hitch them up in the least. They have no problems at all. It doesn't even, stop them just an iota, as even when they go down and they get the touchdown on that drive, it's on a first down play that they go and get the tutty. This was just an easy day for the offense to roll it up on the Washington Commanders. Certainly not a Washington Commander defense that is one that's going to throw a lot of danger at you. There's a lot of opening places to go out there, especially again when they're going to take this same tactic the Seattle Seahawks has faced so very often over and over again throughout this year. They know how to beat that. I'm still waiting for a defense to take a little bit of a different approach, but this just seems to be the rule of thumb when dealing with the condensed splits, I suppose. Defensively speaking, as I said, you absolutely had this Commander team locked up in this football game. And what stood out to me here is that you have Jaden Daniels, a quarterback who, when you watch him play over his early part of his career here, especially last year, he's very much a guy in command, no pun intended, but a guy with a lot of poise, a guy that sees things seemingly very clearly down the field, a guy making really smart decisions in that it's not that he is always going to run 24/7 like you see a lot of young quarterbacks do, is that he'll pick his moments. When is the right time to run? When is the right time to feel a little bit of that pressure? When to throw it away? When to get down? Really felt like here, even from that first drive where he had a couple of rushing attempts that were not designed runs, but him dropping back, feeling things being a little bit odd in coverage and then deciding to run, and that he was then kind of forcing that. I felt like there was times today that he would bail on even clean pockets because he just wasn't seeing things clearly on the back end with the Seahawks and what they were doing. And I think it was notable that the Seahawks didn't really put a spy to be set up on him, and partially why maybe he was trying to use his legs a little bit, but also notable that Seattle right from the onset said, we're not going to worry about your legs. We're not going to spy it. And I think that from Jaden's perspective, he's so used to at times having that spy, and that spy pulling then that one defender away in coverage and then simplifying some of his reads and coverage off of it, that it definitely helped in kind of stopping things on that for them offensively speaking. Of course, then on top of that, Mike got into his bag as he has these past couple of weeks. Ever since that Buccaneers game, that kind of shook something free, it feels like, and the Hawks being much more willing to dial up a variety of different fronts, simulated pressures, and yes, with it, also the blitzes, a variety of guys blitzing, but being willing to utilize that as well in addition to it. And it really provided a lot of confusion there for Jaden Daniels throughout the course of this game. He was never comfortable. Commanders even found a little bit of some rushing attack into the second half, and the running game wasn't bad for them, though it took a little bit of time to get going and Chris Rodriguez to get out there for them. But it didn't matter because they couldn't do anything as far as the passing goes. You were able to create pressure. You were able, for the most part, to keep Jaden Daniels contained. He wasn't able to go out there and really beat you with his legs, despite the fact he ends up with 10 rushing attempts. You had him boxed up, and that's not an easy thing to do, though. I know it's been a little bit different for them this year. And they were down Terry McLaurin in this game where you could really feel that loss of that receiver on the outside. You also knocked out Luke McCaffrey early in the game on a kickoff return, Mike Morris landing on top of him with all of his pretty major body weight, and Morris making some great plays in special teams. But that did really lower down this Washington team offensively as far as their skill position players go, where they're down 2 receivers that have been getting a lot of touches, or at least targets. Theoretically, Terry would be your number 1 targeted guy when he's healthy. And you could feel a little bit of their loss, too much of trying to lean on to Ertz and have him make everything kind of happen there, and a couple of other receivers who weren't quite up to snuff, probably also serving to make Jaden just a little bit of uncomfortable in this game. But the pressure was there. Again, it's the unison of all those guys making it work. Leonard Williams got himself a sack, but created plenty of other pressures. Byron Murphy with a half sack in this game. Uchenna was able to get back there with DeMarcus Lawrence and supply some pressure. You never let him feel comfortable. A great play on the back end as well, as it felt like Tyakata has been really stepping up for this team the more time he plays. And he had in preseason one of the greatest interceptions you'll see, where he reaches out with one hand against the Packers and pulls it in. Well, he added another one in this game. Jaden Daniels is falling off his back foot. He's trying to just throw the ball away out of bounds. Tyakata climbs this fireman's ladder I didn't know he freaking had, goes up and gets the ball. He's carrying himself out of bounds with his momentum, able to get 2 toe tap feet in bounds before he drops down. An absolute phenomenal interception on his part, and so big at that point in the game when you had the offense just humming, because then the offense comes right back and then they get super aggro going up the other side, as you're going to do after a turnover. Go take a shot, go take advantage of that momentum, not shift, flipped, but just more momentum that was boosting your Rockets here throughout the course of this game. Everyone played pretty good defensively. It's hard to look at anybody and say, well, you didn't do this or you didn't do that. Josh Jobe got knocked out. Tariq Woolen didn't start this game, so he came back out there, but then Tariq looked really good in coverage and how he played it, tackled pretty good. He got hit for one taunting penalty that was kind of piddly-Annie. But other than that, he was really good. Drake Thomas, again, continues to play really good football as well as another like Okada. Just the more time this guy gets a chance to play out there and be a starter, the better he seems to get. You lost Ernest Jones in this game about halfway through or so. Tyrese Knight went out there, filled in at the Mike linebacker, and ended up leading the team in tackles, as I do think that that's probably his more natural position versus the will, even though I know he played solidly for you out of the will position last year. But I think he's just better suited in that Mike overall with his body type, style of play, and what he does best. Nick Emanwari continues to be absolutely sensational for you out of the slot role. He's blowing up bubble screens once again, right and left. Very sure tackler. He is just so big. Saw him bring down Deebo Samuel with one arm today, and Deebo's not an easy tackle. And boy, he made Deebo look small. That guy is just a giant out there. Likewise, feel really good about the return of Devin Witherspoon. You slid him to the outside. I thought he played really well in coverage. Part of why things looked really muddy for Jaden Daniels when he's looking down the field is he's not seeing any separation. A lot of guys in coverage, no spy, and he's seeing a lot of guys in tight coverage for your Seahawks, making every catch very, very hard to reel in. Emanwari gave up a catch early on to Ertz, and he was just all over him, draped all over him. It took a perfect throw and a great catch by Ertz to reel it in. But the Seahawks were dominant across the board defensively. Everybody holding up on the line, your rotation of defensive linemen working out perfectly. Mike McDonald operating the defense stylistically in the way that you would hope that he would. And Jaden Daniels was really just out of sorts in this game in a way that I've rarely seen him. Also, just a brutal injury with him at the end of the game that left you wondering, what the hell is Dan Quinn doing at the end of that game, where he's already kind of signaled that they're waving the white flag at the end of the third quarter when they punt on a fourth down and say, okay, we're done on this day. Why not sit him at that point after he just is coming off this injury? Instead, you got him out there and you got him running a read option keeper of all plays down around the goal line in a game that's done at that point. But that's neither here nor there. That's a problem for the Washington Commanders fans, and hopefully he can bounce back nice and healthy. I said, I think only coming out of this for the most part with Ernest Jones is any kind of major injury. We'll see where he's at, as it sounds like initially that's only going to be a couple weaker. The special teams also was dominant in what they brought to play. Michael Dixon didn't do a lot of punting in this game, but he punted well when asked to do it. Jason Myers only had to make one kick, but he made that kick. And then the kick coverage unit was absolutely great. As again, Mike Morris strong down there early on, stopping him up. Again, putting this team on a long field at times. Then you've got Brandon Peely. How often do you ever get a chance to see a nose tackle, got 330 pounds, covering on kickoffs, and not only covering on kickoffs, but being one of the front men down there, one of the first men on the scene. And as that kick returner is running past him, he puts out a big old meat hook, gets that ball-carrying arm, and tears that ball free for a big-time fumble. Again, a game-changing play by the special teams unit. The other parts of the team maybe weren't humming as much. It'd be a game-changing play, but a game-changing play in addition to all the other game-changing plays that were all working in Hawks' favor. But again, the special teams unit coming in with a big play, not just everybody doing their job, doing it right, but coming in with a major play. And it really helped to kind of seal this thing early on, him with that fumble. The timing of that thing couldn't be more perfect. But what about the effort of a guy like Brandon Peely coming in there as a nose tackle, ripping that fumble free, going down there, making a tackle in the unit? Mike Morris, a defensive end earlier, going down there, making a tackle deep down there, shows the effort of the hustle of these guys, and also shows you that Jay Harbaugh is working a little bit of mad scientist stuff with, hey, okay, these guys don't have to run as far. So what if I get bigger guys, more sure tacklers down there, bigger guys that are maybe harder to block, and maybe that can make my kick unit even better in the way that they defend those. But just kind of cool to see. Better and even more cooler to see is a full team 3-phase victory, which is what you saw today from your Seattle Seahawks. You don't get more of a dominant effort than this. Jackson Smith-Njigba's playing like the best wide receiver in the sport. Sam Darnold's playing like the best quarterback in the sport. There's certainly nobody playing more efficiently than he. And this defense just continues to get better and better and better. We head to the trade deadline now with John Snyder looking at a team that by far looks as strong as we've seen in at least 10 years. You got to feel like, as he's sitting with well over $20 million in salary cap space, top 7 in this sport, he's got some money to burn. And if there's any place he can help this team out and only help them further to trying to reach that contending status. The Seahawks keep pace. They keep getting stronger. They keep getting better. And you can see not only the signs of dominance in this team, but that they are just dominant sometimes from the first quarter through the fourth. You put this Commander team to bed early, and you put their season to sleep. This team now stacks up its 10th road win in a row. That's no small thing to accomplish. And again, just another indicator that this team is on the right path and on the way to doing some great things. Cardinals on deck next, and then the Rams 2 weeks out in what might be a big-time showdown. Let's take care of these cards first. Keep this ball rolling, keep stacking these dubs, and maybe even add someone here at the trade deadline. My name is Brandon Kane. This is the Hawks Nest. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. But beyond all else, don't you ever forget, go Hawks.